Thank you for the folks that were able to join tonight. I apologize for the last minute reminder. Try to send those out at least a day in advance. But really appreciate you guys joining who can join live. I think it's beneficial to you guys to be able to ask questions and have all of your questions addressed live in person with Mike Harper here. But for those of you who couldn't join us and are going to be watching this by video recording, it's pretty critical that all of the newer staff members, and that we're defining precisely as anyone with 3 or less years of tenure, really focus in on this associate counselor training because it helps you orient from going from being a participant as a statesman in the program to the other side of the program. And although staff, I think you guys have observed throughout the week that you participate in the program, you have some sense of what they do, but you may not really have the whole sense, and especially the critical role that the associate counselors play in running a smooth program, running an organized program, and running an effective program that really maximizes the learning and enjoyment for those participants. And so we've asked Mike Harper here to help guide you guys through what has been an evolving process from us. We understand that we really need to invest in the type of leadership training to make you guys effective and successful.
Thanks, Asim. Well, we'll get right into it right away here. Really excited to have all of you here with us. Let me know if you can use that chat room. There's an area for you that you should be able to chat and let me know what city you're from as we go through. As we do that, we're just going to go ahead and jump right in to some of the content, some of the things that are important for you overall. When we take a look at the background knowledge you have, I've seen you know him pretty well, hopefully throughout, and getting to know him even better. And you'll get to know him even more as we get started going into actually the week together in Austin. Myself, I'm in the athletic realm of things. I went to Boise State well after the first one. I went there in 1999, and this will actually make my 20th consecutive year that I've been attending Boise State and volunteering within the program. So it's a program that means a lot to me. Overall, professionally now, I'm involved in the fitness realm. I started out as a collegiate strength coach, and from there in the Big 12 was at Texas Tech University as a assistant strength coach, working football, volleyball, and soccer, working all of their different strength aspects of their programs. And then moved into more of a research role and presenting and teaching individuals about training of how to become a trainer and work with tactical athletes all around the world and doing presentations. And now back more on the hands-on side of working with individuals on an individual basis and managing a team of trainers here in Austin. So really excited to be here in Austin so that throughout the program can be more involved as well and seeing you there and what you're going to do. When you look at overall the program at Boise State, you know this program has been around for a very long time. We just recently celebrated our 75th anniversary. And so when you think about that, this program has really been working with youth like yourself that went through it just recently for over a quarter century and really impacting individuals. As you might have remembered when you were there, Boise State is about a lot more than politics. And I think all of us could agree that we don't necessarily need 1,000 plus necessarily more politicians, but we need 1,000 educated, informed leaders from right here in Texas in our society. And that's what this program is built about. And we've been doing that for over a quarter century here. And so it's really important for us to make this a great week for individuals, a week that they'll remember. When you think about this program here, individuals are going to remember it. I actually was here in Austin with Texas TBS, and that's the Department of Public Safety. You might remember them from out on the highway sometimes. You might have seen them in those black and white patrol cars from the Texas Department of Public Safety Police. And no, I was not getting pulled over. I was actually over there in their training facility working with them in the weight room. And funny was, the gentleman I was there working with, he was much older, and he shared with me about how he remembered his Boise State program, and he had gone to it about 45 years ago. And it's still an impact, and he actually still had his Boise State shirt. The next time I worked with him, he actually wore that shirt to the workout. It's a little tighter then. That's why we're working on his fitness. But it was something that made a big impact that he kept that shirt around. And so our goal is to end up with a situation where we have individuals, 1,000 plus great leaders right here in the state of Texas, that they learn by doing. And that's what this program is all about. And you have an important role in this as an associate counselor, working with individuals to make sure that they have a great experience and they stay involved throughout the entire time that they are there. Because it's easy to be involved in the first day, you might remember that. But as you start to become a little bit tired, start to become a long week, oftentimes it's not as easy to become involved, and it happens from the very start. And that's the impact you make. We have great students that are going to be there, but you're going to make an impact on them in what you do with them. Overall, know that you're not alone, though. This program has great leadership from the very top to the bottom of everybody that's involved. And so know that every single one of us are there to be a resource for you. That if there's situations that you got your hands tied up and you're trying to do multiple things at once, know that you can ask any one of us, and we're going to be there to assist you. When you think of the experience on the staff, it's a plethora of experience. We're well over 100 years of experience. I mentioned this is my 20th year. When you look at individuals there that are a part of our team here on that leadership team, you look at Paul Barker, well over 20 years. You look at Craig, well over 30 years. You could keep going. John Limley, well over 30 years. So we could keep going down this list of tons of experience and resources that are there for you. And you'll get to know each one of these individuals throughout the week. You may remember some of them from the times that you've been there or the experience you've had in the past as well. And so we'll work with you on that. But the biggest thing I want to get into tonight is, what is your role as an associate counselor, and how do you make sure that's an outstanding experience that you're impacting lives? You may remember from the time that you were there that it's a very fast-paced program. I always like to ask what your favorite time of the program was. And it's interesting to hear individuals, the responses that you have. I know for one of my favorite experiences for me was actually that I was a postmaster, which we kind of changed a little bit now. I also ran in the Senate, was elected, and ran for President Pro Tem of the Senate, and became very close to that position. Didn't end up winning, but then had the opportunity to become more involved in writing legislation and all those things in the Senate, and actually being down on the floor of the Capitol doing legislation was outstanding and amazing for me. So really cool experience, but you can remember all the different things from rec time for dodgeball to all the activities there, to our visiting dignitaries that come in the evenings, to the time you have together as a city. I remember some of the times with cities that I've been with that you hear a lot of amazing experiences. Individuals share things, they get to know each other very well. I know we've had situations where individuals bond as a city and support one another, and it's really cool to see that come together as a city to build chants, to build that camaraderie that we have there. But the thing is that the program works very quickly, and all those activities are essentially almost going on simultaneously at the same time. And so we want to make sure that individuals are given the opportunity to become involved in as many things as possible. And that happens from the very beginning of our goal of showing them that we are a leader. And, I've been in a lot of positions, just to be honest with you, especially in the fitness realm and leadership positions within companies, where I'll be honest, I didn't know 100% of what I was doing. But I was able to make an impact, because sometimes you have to think about the aspect of fake it till you make it almost. Now, we're going to give you a ton of resources. We don't want you to make up an answer for somebody, but we want to give them the information they need, and we want you to use the resources around you and teach them how to utilize their resources as well. I guarantee you're going to be asked many, many times throughout this week of what time something is. And you have the decision from the very beginning to show them how to use the resources they have. You might not actually know the time of that. I know many times I have no idea what the time of the activity is during the week. But what I learned to do was, let's take a look at that together, and I'd learn the information with them. I'd find the answer out. Let them know if you can't find it, I will find out and I will let you know. But typically what I would do is have them go to the schedule together with me. And as we go to the schedule together, then I taught them how to utilize their resources, to rely on that versus having everybody in a city come and ask me for the answer. So you've actually, in a sense, well, I didn't know the information. I didn't really fake it, but I kind of did in a sense because I had to go to the resource to find it for them until I knew it in the back of my mind the entire time. So utilize that opportunity for you to get them to follow your leadership and provide great leadership from the very beginning in what you did. Now, there's some different ways that we're going to do that throughout the program here, and different things that I want to talk about tonight to allow individuals to follow you. There's many different ways to lead and to guide and get individuals involved. And I want to focus tonight on about 6 different areas to help you in overall gaining a following of individuals throughout the program. And so we're going to talk about a couple different areas here that you see listed on the screen, and we'll go through those and talk about each one individually. So, and when we talk about these different items here, we'll start to jump in and give you some different situations, ways that you can utilize them, some examples of them. You might recognize some of these, but we'll jump into the first one right off the bat, because when we look at leading, there's many different environments that you come from a background of leading in, and that's why you've been recognized at the time that you were there with us as a leader, and knowing that you're a top 5% to even be selected for this program. And so you're a leader leading leaders, and so you have to think about, how do I make sure that I do a great job with that? One of the first ones that we think about throughout this is really working throughout the program here of jumping in and utilizing your resources here of what you're going to do. In our first one here of the obligation. Reciprocity is the idea that if I give, then essentially, if I'm giving you courtesy, if I'm giving you respect, 9 times out of 10, I'm going to end up getting that back as a result of that. And so one of the big keys of our obligation is creating an obligation in providing for them, that we are there to give to them, and they're most likely going to give back to you. And oftentimes I look at that from even from the very beginning, that when they walk onto your floor and get to meet you at the very first time, when they first see you and you're opening a door for them, when you're helping them with a bag, well, what do you think is going to happen when you need help later on? They're most likely going to be giving back to you. And so it starts from the very beginning. You can do it in very personalized ways, in ways that it's very unexpected. And it goes back to the idea of praising individuals in public. We want to really make that a big thing. Share with them how proud you are for getting involved in different aspects. From the very first night of them running for office, how excited you are that they're already jumping in that they're here, all of those different items. So that's our first concept that we want to utilize. Our second one that we take a look at is the idea of scarcity. I use this, I'm in a sales aspect of things, and you've probably seen this as well. When you think about that there's only a certain number of items left, yeah, more likely to go and run and get it right away. When I think about there's only a certain time frame for me to do it in, I'm more likely to do it at that point in time. And so when I think about it within Boise State, oftentimes I'll utilize it, and even in getting ready to go someplace. When we think about our schedule from the very first, I mentioned about how there's 1,200 individuals. There's well over 1,000 individuals at Boise State, and how exciting it's going to be to hear XYZ presenter. What assembly is going to be amazing for them to hear, and how we want to make sure that we get there early so we get a great seat, to help them understand that when it has a time for something on our schedule, that's not what time we're leaving. We got to think about that's what time the program is starting. We want to get there before that, so that means we need to leave before that, which means we also need to get ready before that, and starting to build that aspect of time for them. That way they start to see, hey, this is a really great thing, I don't want to miss out, and they're going to follow your leadership because you've shared with them of how great that is for them to go to. So a way that we can utilize scarcity, we can utilize it in the aspect of having more time for lunch, of getting done with certain items. We can utilize it for aspects of things such as working with them, of making sure that they get on the ballot as well. Now, the third item that we want to talk about on the top right here is one that we have to be careful sometimes, because I think if we're not careful, sometimes individuals look at authority as being, I'm in charge, I'm one of the counselors, so I'm going to tell you what to do. But yes, there's a certain component of that, but also we have to build our credibility. We have to build that authoritative aspect with our knowledge, and we're going to help you with that. And so you may not necessarily have all of the expertise with all the answers, but you can build it in many other ways. You can build it with just how you look, of making sure that you're ready to go, that you're always in a full uniform, that you're tucked in, you're doing all of those little bits and you're ready to go. You can share with them some of your experiences that you've had as well. But the key is that within authority, we don't get that commanding presence without also showing respect. And so one of the ways to really build that authoritative aspect is in showing respect from the very beginning of the program. I started out within the Boys State program as a counselor, as an associate counselor. And I stayed in that position for an extended period of time because I really enjoyed it. There was an opportunity for me to work with the other counselors of leading them just like I am here today. One of those things that I've always done is I've always used yes, sir, in working with individuals, no, sir, and opening doors, those things there. It gives that commanding presence without necessarily having to go over the top. These individuals have no idea how old you are. They don't know that you're a year out. And so they're there having no idea your age. And so you want to go ahead and walk into that role, showing your presence there. And oftentimes that can do it from the start. Second thing when we think about doing it from the start is the idea of consistency, our fourth concept here. When we look at consistency, you want to build your influence by doing the same things the same way and really working on making sure that you build a consistency, that you provide a commitment. We mentioned at the very beginning here that there may be things you don't have the answers for, but you're going to get the answer. Make sure that you follow through on that when you mention to them that you're going to get back to them with an answer, make sure that you go back to them and get that answer with them. Make sure that you provide them that checkup. And also the same thing is when you ask them to do something, do the same thing, that you're going to check on it. It may be the small things of asking them to make sure that their lights are off in the room. Check on it and give them feedback on it. And then if there's issues, things that we need to modify within the behavior, always available to work on those things later on as well. Now, our fifth one here is the aspect of, you can see it from social media, from the world around us. People like it when people like things around them. And so they like it when they can relate to people. And so they like it when people are similar. Share some of your experiences. Give them compliments. I always say that we want to praise in public and we want to praise them often. If we have issues, we'll deal with those in private in a situation that's appropriate where we have good ratios of either delegates to you. We never want to be in a one-on-one situation, or counselors and the delegate, of course. Throughout it, we want to make sure that we start out with a positive mindset. Sharing positivity with them is something that's somewhat contagious. The other thing that's contagious is that enthusiasm. People will jump on your positivity. They'll jump on you taking a situation of, man, we're late for lunch, or we're having to hurry because we're at the end of the line, and flipping it into a positive situation, a likable situation. So work on that side of things in making sure that you're providing that positive situation for them. And last but not least is consensus. If we can share with them what everybody else is doing, that helps them to get buy-in. If everyone else is running for an office, why wouldn't I? If we look at what are some of the other cities doing and how they're doing, why wouldn't we do that? Providing that consensus and building that up, knowing who within your group are the leaders within your city and utilizing them for influence as well will help to build that consistency and that consensus throughout the whole week. Now, when we look at your role within the program here, we look at a number of different functions. And so we're going to talk about overall the ways that you're going to be able to lead in some of these different roles. Now, when we look at overall the role of associate counselors, we have a number of different roles, and individuals could be in all number of different scenarios. Some of you may still be, we haven't determined all of our counselor needs, so we may have some backup roles. We may have some individuals that are more in an administrative role versus with a city as much. But everyone's going to be involved no matter what in some form or fashion within all these different 6 areas, whether they're directly related or indirectly related to the program. And so I want to talk about all 6 of these areas here and responsibilities that go through them, with the first one overall as one of the biggest things of being in that program guide or being that resource individuals. When we look at our lead counselors. Our lead counselors are typically going to be more experienced. They're going to have more tenure, and they're going to be the ones doing most of the teaching throughout the week. Yet at the same time, individuals are going to still come to our associate staff in any role, or new counselors in any role, to ask questions. And so that's an opportunity that we want to make sure that we provide good answers, correct answers, and that we're leading them to get involved within the program. And that's where I mentioned earlier in my example of utilizing the guide, utilizing our resources. I don't know all those scheduled, but I'll go back to helping them to go find out the answer together. As we go find out the answer together, we're going to be in a situation where we'll be much better off, and we'll make sure that I got the right answer for them in that situation. The other aspect of it is if you're given a role that you know that you're going to be guiding them with, make sure you're prepared for it. Take a few notes. I always found that it's important for you that the night before, make sure you know what is going on tomorrow, what are all the locations of the items that I'm going to be associated with, and then the next morning, start to prep for your afternoon. Always be one step ahead. You always want to be ready to go, thinking of what is the question that's going to happen, so I can be a positive influence for individuals, and also starting to predict what are the questions that might come up for us. Now, another main role for us is overall security and protection. When we think about the Boy State program, think about the idea that we've got 1,000+ individuals, that we've got parents that are entrusting their safety, their security for an entire week with us. And so when we think about security, when we think about protection, this is a big issue, and it's a very important one for us to take very seriously. Especially when you think about in society today, you never know what's going on with the individuals that are there as a part of the program, and even those that are all around us. And so we want to make sure that we have the number one thing that we can do to prevent issues, and that's to provide presence, that we are there in the presence of individuals. Oftentimes, presence will cause individuals to think twice about doing something. And it may be that there's someone in the room that we don't know that they've been dealing with something and they're about to boil over because, something that's going on in their life. We want to be there that, hey, they're going to know that they can come to us to ask any question, that we're there available for them. We also want to make sure that if someone's from the outside coming in, that they see our presence as well, that they know that you're there in an authoritative role, that you're not laying on the ground sleeping in a hallway where students that are from the UT campus see you and wonder, gosh, man, there's not any counselors watching those kids. There will be time for you to go take a break, but make sure that you take that break when you've A, passed off your responsibilities to another counselor, and B, that you're in a situation where you found a place to take a break where you're not just hanging out where others might think, gosh, they're not doing their role. You want to make sure that you're doing that in appropriate areas. And one of the most important things when we think about our program, we want to make sure that you're never in a situation where you have to worry about whether you're one-on-one with the delegate. Think about the aspect of what could arise if you're in a one-on-one situation where you have you and a delegate, then your word gets their word. And so we want to make sure that we prevent that. Now, when you're with your city, normally a lot of people there, but think about unique situations of maybe somebody needs to go across campus because they're late to something. Well, remember that if you're going to do that, that either you and another counselor need to take that delegate with you to go to that other location. That way, you're never one-on-one. But let's say that maybe there's not another counselor available at that time. So now it's you, one delegate. You take just one other delegate with you. So you've got one counselor, you've got two delegates, and you're taking them to a meeting across campus. Well, think about that. If you go across campus with them, you drop one of them off, now you got to come back. Go back to a one-on-one situation. It's not going to work. So if you're in that situation, you then, as a counselor, need to take additional delegates. It's actually you and the person you're taking, plus two additional delegates. So the four of you going across, that way when you come back, you got more than just that one-on-one situation. Now, we're always going to be there to assist, and you have to think about, am I leaving my city by themselves? You have to think about the right timing for all those situations. But it goes hand in hand of when you're talking to them even on your floor. You never want to be inside of the delegates' rooms with that door closed. You want to make sure that you knock first, that you got the door open when you're talking to them. All of those situations there. Thinking safety, security is our #1 priority for within the program. It's even the idea of why we try to make sure that we walk from place to place in an organized fashion, that we make sure that we're always account for everyone, making sure that you don't just have them count off of, okay, we'll just count off, you say one, you say two, and keep going, because what happens if someone miscounts? Making sure you've got an easy way is oftentimes putting them beside each other with their roommate, and then asking for them to check for the roommate, but also asking for the folks in front and behind them to check. So an easy way to do that is as you leave, or you're checking to make sure everyone's there so you can leave, then just going down and counting off room numbers, and you know if both people are there. So thinking safety, thinking security all the time, because there'll be many times that you're moving around where you're with half the delegates by yourself. You might be with half your city all by yourself. We typically try to do that, that when you leave an area that perhaps in that situation, that it's only half the city and you're pairing up with another city, then we typically try to make sure that we've got a lead counselor and associate counselor together. But when we think about moving across campus, that's a big component. We want to think safety there as well, thinking about crosswalks. We're not a police officer, we're not security there, so we're obeying traffic. We're allowing traffic to flow. We're stopping our delegates at different times. When you think about these photos here, where's the best spot for you to be at? It's interesting. You know, the one photo, you don't necessarily see a counselor in a navy shirt nearby. In the other photo, you see the counselor at the front. So you wonder, is that the best spot? Should I be in the front so I can lead them where to go? Yeah, the best spot is everywhere. You wonder, well, how can I be everywhere? Well, yes, I might want to be in the front to lead them, but then how do I know if everyone's coming along in the back? Well, it might be you stop, you let that first person know, we're going this direction. I want you to stop at that light pole ahead, or I want you to stop at that intersection. That allows you time that maybe you go to the back and then you catch back up to the front. That allows you to literally be everywhere, but also be in one spot and be just one person. So think about how you're moving around, that you're not always staying in one spot, that they'll also recognize your presence. Others on campus will notice that you are moving around with your group, that you've given them instructions. They're seeing that, gosh, they stop, they gather everyone together. That's an easy way to make sure you have everyone. The other things when we think about movement of delegates is even moving into an auditorium. We want to make sure that we have everyone together in that auditorium, that our presence is there, that when we're seating individuals, that we're seating them from the front of the auditorium to the back. We're filling every seat. We're assisting with that process and finding ways that we can help get more individuals in there on a quicker manner, that we're using all available entrances, that we're using exits as well. So we make sure that if there's an aisle and there's seats on both sides of the aisle, why send just one line of individuals down that aisle when we could send two lines shoulder to shoulder and send them into both aisles, or send them into both directions of the seat on each side of that aisle? Lots of different options for you. When we think about allowing individuals to move from the area, sometimes we'll move in a large group, sometimes we'll move in city aspect, but either way, need to be fairly organized and making sure we're sharing the sidewalk, reminding them to do that as well, so that we look like we're an organized group on the campus, because we're a large group and individuals don't realize how large we are. When we think about overall within the dorms, we're very fortunate for the campus on UT to allow us to utilize their campus for this program. They provided us with a great place for us to be at, right in the heart of Austin, a great campus to be on, even if you're not a UT fan, because it provides us great facilities with everything we need and great staff. And the thing is, when we look at where we're staying at within the dorms, inside the dorms, we're in a unique situation there because we're one of the only groups that utilizes master keys within the dorms. And that's a responsibility that is a big, big privilege. It's not given to all groups. It's not given to many groups at all. And so one of the biggest things is make sure that we never leave a dorm with a master key. We'll talk about the exact specifics of how to utilize a key system within the dorms, but the #1 rule is that we want to make sure that we're never leaving with keys. One thing we want to think about is just outside of just that aspect of things, that reminding students about just simple things of security. That if we see someone on a floor, see someone in a facility that we're in that we don't recognize, that we're saying hello to them. that we're asking if we can assist them, finding out who they are and where they're going. Because there shouldn't be other individuals on our floor. We're also making sure that when we're working with our delegates that are going to the rooms, making sure that there's only 2 individuals to a room at night. We're actually checking that. We're knocking on the door, telling them good night, telling them what time we'll wake them up, and checking that there's only 2 individuals. The worst thing you could do is allow individuals to be missing at the end of the night or throughout the day. We want to have an idea of where individuals are at all times, because we talked about security being a very important thing. Of course, you're thinking about a situation that you're in. You're thinking about overall high school students. The fact that you're developing friendships with individuals that don't want to hang out with folks. So after you've checked individuals are in their own room, make sure you provide some presence in the hallway in the evenings. That you're hanging out in the hallway, checking what is your task for the next day. It's a great time for you to provide presence by being in the hallway, and individuals see you out there and go, well, you know what, I'll stay in my room. And you'll be out there for a few minutes, getting your things together for the next day, digesting the day, of how great of a day you had in leading and providing your leadership, but also in getting you ready for the next day and what needs to happen. Make sure that you're always ahead with looking at your schedule. And people are going to ask you when things are, so utilize your schedule, have them go know where their resources are. But when you want to be a friend, and oftentimes in the dorms, it's where you see a lot of friendships develop. You want to make sure that in those situations that you remember that you're there as a leader first and a friend second. You'll be friends with these individuals, but remember that you are a leader in the situation. You want to make sure you provide that presence, that authority in that situation, and that you're a friend second. And so oftentimes you want to make sure that throughout the week that you provide that presence, that diligence and consistency in what you're doing, versus necessarily being a friend and doing different jokes with them or those things. You can have fun. We want to make sure that they understand that you're not letting people stay up past lights out, that lights out means lights out, and we enforce those rules. It's always easier to loosen up the rules and timing on things as the week goes on. At the beginning of the week, perhaps being a little stern because you want to provide that presence in that situation. And as the week goes on, allowing a little slack oftentimes in those situations, but knowing that you got to remember that their parents entrusted us and you to their safety throughout the entire week. And we want to make sure that even as the week goes late into the week, that you're still enforcing the rules. You're not allowing them to stay up all night, run around, play games, that we're taking care of those items so that they can get some sleep and make sure that they go home with their family and they still have some energy when they get back as well. Of course, when we think about dorms, we want to think about safety, valuables, remind individuals for them to either take, hide, or lock. And then also before you leave, for us to lock all the dorms, rooms, and check those. It's our responsibility versus passing on the key to our delegates, of course. And getting into our last few things here, getting into the aspect of what else is there in that role of recreation time. Rec time is one of the great times. It's a lot of fun. I know for our delegates, I know it probably was for you. So many different activities. Also, as a counselor, I know it's a fun time as well. But we want to make sure during that rec time that we're allowing individuals to get involved as much as possible. There's tons of activities, and individuals maybe in sports, they get knocked out. And so our role there is helping encourage them to get jumping back into something else, going to different seminars, reminding them that they can be in band, they can be in athletics, they can go to seminars, they can do all those come and go from those different activities, they can vote during these times. There's tons of things that individuals can do, and we want to encourage them to get involved in those. But also remember that rec time is not necessarily our rec time as counselors. It's the rec time for our participants. Just like the overall program is no longer our boy state. We've had our boy state. You'll have questions from individuals, and they'll ask you, how did you run for this or that, or whatever it might be? The key is when those questions come up, it's often easier to turn that question around to them, because it doesn't matter how you ran for it, because you already had your boy state. You don't want to develop the answer for them. If you're sure how you ran for that, don't you think they're going to think, gosh, he's the authoritative figure here. He got invited back to be a counselor, so why would I follow his advice versus having them come up with their own idea? Same thing is for rec time here. When we think about rec time, it's a time for our city to do really well with those things. You'll probably see your city during those times, but you also have a good likelihood of being involved in assignments during that time. Otherwise, there'll be nobody to officiate different activities. So we want you to jump in those activities. We try to pair you up with the activities that you enjoy still, but there'll be a role for us in those activities as well. We want to make sure that we're involved in that, of officiating games, of assisting with band, assisting with committees, assisting with seminars. All staff have assignments during recreation time, and we want to make sure that we're aware of those and we're following those. And one of our last areas here, as we start to wrap up just in the next few minutes here, is last responsibility is overall that discipline and motivation. It's a great time, it's a lot of fun, but we want to make sure that we're taking care of issues as well. When we think about issues and discipline, yes, we all have a role in that, but if we're running into situations that become recurring problems, we run into situations that are large issues, that they're major concerns, know that our lead counselors and our leadership team are typically the ones to go to with those problems. And also, before an issue arises, making sure you're communicating with the lead counselor and the overall leadership team of things you're seeing, so that we're all aware of situations that might arise that haven't arisen yet. When there are situations that we need to handle, there may be times that you're with just your group, or maybe that you're pointing out something to someone and asking them to pay attention. You're reminding them to get back in line so we can look organized. Always handle it with respect. You always want to have that please, that sir, all of those things in there. Thank you at the end. Making sure that you utilize those to provide them with respect. Goes back to the idea of reciprocity that we talked about earlier. It's a big item for us because now they're more likely to give that back to you as well. In those situations, allowing it to be diffused first helps as well. Perhaps asking them to step aside, give them a few minutes to cool off, and making sure that you're never handling situations one-on-one. In that situations, oftentimes it's easier to provide them with some background of why you care, so that they understand that it's an important aspect of what you're providing, this help and motivation for them to get back on track. In this situation, try to make sure that anytime that we're giving feedback, it's quick, it's to the point. They're providing that we care in there and doing it with respect, but knowing if there's any major problems, discipline issues, that we're pointing out to our lead counselors, to our leadership team to jump and be involved, and never handling anything one-on-one in a situation there, like we talked about earlier, that you're pulling in other counselors there to be in presence there. Overall, we want to make sure that we're all together to provide a safe environment, that we're motivating individuals to get involved in the program, and overall, while they're having fun, making sure it doesn't go over the top. You look at the one picture in the bottom there, it'd be very easy for that to get rowdy and get out of hand, and people jumping on seats so they can see what's going on and standing on chairs. But in the role, we have to make sure that doesn't happen. So it may be giving individuals reminders of not to stand on a chair, giving individuals reminder of what's appropriate in different situations. And to help in those situations, oftentimes presence is our number one tool that we'll utilize, of making sure that we're spread throughout an assembly, making sure that we're available for them throughout it as well. Throughout the Boys State process and throughout the week, I know that it's a busy time. I know it's a time that you may want a few minutes to have a few minutes for yourself, to make a few phone calls. Maybe there's things you got going on. Make sure that before the program, that if you have other commitments, that you're letting us know in advance, so that we know how to prepare and allow time for those activities to occur. But also know that it's going to be a busy week. It's going to be a long week. It's going to be a week that will be tiring. I know I'm always tired at the end of Boys State. It's one of the reasons I always try to make sure that I carpool with someone versus going alone. It makes it a little bit more fun on the way there, but also at the end of a tired week, gives me someone else that we're heading back home together. Making sure that you're ready to go at the end of the week is important. But throughout the week, know that we're involved the whole time. That there's not a time that I can just check out and say, I'll catch y'all later, without handing off the responsibilities to someone else. And so there'll be times that, yes, when we're in a large assembly, that you'll be able to step out for a few moments, take care of times, have your time to regress and have fun with talking with the other counselors, but also know that our time here at Boys State is to have our presence with overall all of the delegates, and make sure that we're leading, and leading by our example of being involved as well, leading in how we are involved in showing them the right path of where to go throughout the week. Overall, Boys State is a great program. It's one of those weeks at the end of the week. I know that you're going to have memories that you'll have now as a counselor. You've had your memories, you've had your experience as a delegate, and now it's going to be a time for you to create those memories as a counselor. And for each counselor, there's many different reasons why we all come back every year. And you'll have your reasons as well. When you think about the opportunity to lead others, to give back to a program that's meant a lot to you, you're going to see a lot of things that maybe you didn't see in the program before. I know I always thoroughly enjoy going and sitting through the different assemblies. It's one of my favorite times to hear speeches from some of our visiting dignitaries that we have. And also, it's really neat for me to hear the speeches from our delegates, to hear what are their thoughts on different topics as well. And so, there's a lot of times at the end of the week that you're going to bond with your city, but remember that you want to still provide that situation where you're leading, you're adhering to the rules, that we don't have end of the week parties. You may have had that in the past where there's a little bit of that, but we want to make sure that we're still adhering to the rules, still adhering to the programs that we have there, and what is truly best for the delegates. And making sure that we all walk away with a positive experience for both you and also our delegates as well. So I know you'll have questions. I know that you'll want more. The biggest thing is to start to think about what are the ways that you can lead. When we see you here in just even a couple weeks, right around the corner here, I want you to come to the week already having your thoughts of what are ways that I can start quick from the very beginning and going ahead and providing that leadership. What are the ways that you can start to show your presence in how you address individuals, and how you lead? You don't have to be perfect. You don't have to have all the answers. We will provide you with the tools. We'll provide you with that training. You're going to continue to get that in our next webinar as well. And then on site, we're going to provide that. And best of all, you're going to have a lead counselor that you'll be paired up with. You have a leadership team that's right there with you, and we'll all work together to make sure it's an outstanding experience. So know that you are not alone, and overall together, we can make this the best voice state ever. So if you have questions, let us know. More than happy to assist you with those questions that you might have. If you have it on your speakers there, let's see here.
Yeah, Mike, I don't think they.
Questions,
Don't worry about putting the
feel
speaker.
free to, there we go. If you have questions, feel free to just raise a hand. You should have the ability to do that, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have throughout the program, or feel free to also let us know throughout, and any of our moderators yourself be happy to help you along the way here throughout the program here. So feel free to ask any questions you have in the chat room, or raise a hand. I'm happy to answer any of those questions you have. But otherwise, thanks for attending tonight, and look forward to seeing you soon. Ryan, you are unmuted, Ryan. Do you have a question there? Ryan's hand. Ryan, your hand went up, my friend.
No, sir.
You have a question? Let us know.
No, sir. I was just had it up for.
Oh, he's just waving. All right. No worries, Ryan. Anyone else have a question? Feel free to raise your hand. You are muted, Ryan. Any other questions? Otherwise, feel free to log off, and we will see you soon. Oh, Grant, give me just a second. And, whoops. Grant, you are unmuted.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Grant, go ahead.
All right. So for the blue Boy State polos, we get that at orientation. We have to pay for them before.
When you get there, we'll have the polos for you. We'll have your name tag. We'll have your materials to lead with for you. We have different guides that we'll provide you. All of those things will be ready to go. Just make sure that you're bringing, some things like, your undershirts, your pants, all of those things, shoes, all those things that you've got ready to go. If you're a Legion member or Sons of the Legion, if you have family that's been in the Legion, I'd highly encourage you to become a Sons of the American Legion, and getting one of those handy hats like you see Travis there. Those are always awesome to have as well.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Anything else, Grant?
No, sir.
You are muted, Grant. Anybody else? Raise that hand. We'll get you all set.
Hey, Mike.
Asim?
Yeah. Hey there. I was just saying for the last question as well, we'll try to send out a packing list the week or two before. That'll just help you guys know a couple of different things, either just a reminder for when you participated last year for those of you guys that are just 1 year out, as well as just a couple of helpful hints for other things like an extra blanket.
Yes, extra blankets are always important. Always cold. I like to bring my own pillow too. Any other questions? Last call for questions. Raise your hand if you've got a question. Otherwise, feel free to shoot out an email. Let us know any questions you have, and we'll see you in June. Awesome. Thanks for attending, guys. Have a great night, and we will see you soon.
Awesome. Well, thanks, everyone. In case anyone's still on, just a reminder, you'll see those Trainwright emails, and you should have received a notification to get those completed, especially all first-year counselors coming back will have to get that completed this year, so please review that as soon as you can.